Hi everybody, my name is Caleb Blickenstaff. I'm the principal at Cascade Middle School. I wanted to take a few minutes of your time to talk about the McKinney Vento Act. So the McKinney Vento Act was passed in 1987. With the changes that ESSA has brought forth, the Every Student Federal Law, Every Student Succeeds Act, McKinney Vento has been strengthened a little bit and a few things have changed. So we want to talk about some of that. Here's some contact info on me. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, just jot those down real quick since you're watching this on video, and you can hit me up later. In this slide presentation, we're going to do a brief explanation of the law, look at some key terms and definitions, and then lastly, how do we respond to the law and follow it as a school corporation. Alright, on this slide you can see a lot of startling numbers that come with homelessness in our state as it specifically relates to students in public schools. So that top number, 17,863, are the total number of students who experienced homelessness at some point during the school year last year. Of that number, 13,872 were doubled up or living with other family members. 2476, that number represents the students who are living in shelters, and then below that 1266, those are students who are living in motels, hotels, transient population. And then lastly, the smallest number, those 249 students who were unsheltered. Those are students who have been identified by the state of Indiana who are living on the streets without a physical location to call home. I want you to pause the video right here, and I just want you to think about what you imagine when you think of a homeless student. What comes to mind? So I'll give you a couple seconds, couple minutes, however long it takes. Just jot down 3 key things that come to your mind when you think of what a homeless student looks like, acts like, sounds like. Alright, now that you've done that, you've probably popped images into your mind that look like this. Children who are unsheltered, children who are sleeping on the streets, children who lack basic necessities, children who are uncared for by parents or guardians. But in reality, homeless children look much different than that. Homeless children aren't going to look any different than your normal children, children who have a place to call home on a regular basis. That's what is so difficult about identifying and providing services for students who are homeless. The federal legislation, ESSA, has broadened the definition of what homelessness means, so we need to be able to respond to that as a school. Our number one priority is we need to make sure that we protect students who are experiencing homelessness and that we understand what it means to be homeless, and we have a process in place to identify those students who need help and assistance. So what does it mean to be a homeless youth? Homeless youth lack a fixed, stable, and adequate housing situation. Lacking a fixed home means that their home is temporary, it's transient, they're bouncing around, they don't have a permanent place where they reside. Stability means that it's always available. It's a place they can't go to during certain points. That student would be classified as homeless. And then adequate. The home has to meet basic amenities. Things like it has to have a roof, it has to have heat in the wintertime, it has to have running water, it should have electricity. Coincidentally, air conditioning is not one of those basic necessities. So homeless students can be really anywhere. They can be in shelters, motels, cars. They can be couch surfing with friends, families. They can be living with other relatives out of district. What homeless students are not are foster children. There's completely separate legislation that protects foster children. They are not included as a part of the McKinney Vento Act. What do we do as a school? The services that we provide educationally. Any student who experiences homelessness must be allowed to attend their school of origin, regardless of their housing status. So whenever a student experiences homelessness, at that point they have to be allowed to stay in their school of origin. Financially, homeless students are entitled to Title I services, free lunches, textbook assistance, and transportation that must be provided by their school corporation. What do we need to do as a school? We have to identify those students who need assistance, those families who really need assistance, and reach out to them. This is a very difficult process for a lot of people because it becomes a pride issue. They don't want to admit they are experiencing financial hardship and that they need help. But it's our responsibility as educators to reach out and make sure they know that there are services out there and that we are here as a school corporation for their children. The biggest thing is going to be communication. If you as an educator, as any building employee, know that a student is experiencing hardship when it comes to their housing situation, you need to make sure you communicate that to school administration. I serve as our McKinney Vento liaison for the corporation, so ultimately all of that information will come to me, and I will point those people in the right direction where they need to go and what they need to do to make sure they are receiving adequate services from the school. So here's some frequently asked questions. What is a school of origin? The school of origin is where that student was going to school when the homelessness occurred. No matter where the student goes after that, it's our responsibility to still provide that child with an education. Second question that comes up is, well, if a student moves out of our corporation experiencing homelessness, how far does the school have to transport that student? There is no specific legislation that talks about distance. What the state talks about is what will have a negative impact on that student's academics. So if we're transporting a kid over 2 hours to and from school, that's probably going to be seen by the state as academically harmful, and they will work to get that student enrolled in another school. But if it's close enough to us, say in a neighboring corporation or even a neighboring county, that student still has the right to attend Mill Creek schools. A third question that comes up is, how long does homelessness last? Homelessness will last as long as housing is not fixed, stable, and adequate. So however long that takes, that's how long the period lasts. If a student qualifies in the middle of the year and then moves into a fixed, stable, and adequate environment, they will remain a McKinney Vento student for the remainder of that school year. A final question that comes up often is, where can I get more resources on this topic? We will send out this presentation to everyone, so you can click on these links included here in question number 4. The DOE has several resources that are available for educators to take a look at. Thank you so much for listening today, and I hope this gave you a little bit of a broader understanding of what the McKinney Vento Act is and what our responsibility is as a school corporation. Thanks, and have a great day.